Joining us now is former Trump White House attorney Jim Schultz. It's good to see you, Jim. Just your reaction to this news that we have now Donald Trump receiving this Donald Trump's legal team and Trump receiving this target letter regarding the special counsel's investigation into January 6th.
Well, I mean, we saw it beginning to wrap up. As you get closer and closer to the inner circle and more important folks coming into the grand jury, that's a signal that they're coming to a close. So the culmination of that is, that they've sent him a target letter. We don't know who else has received or if anyone else has received target letters associated with it. I expect it has a lot to do with perhaps conspiracy to commit fraud and relating to the overturning the outcome of a valid election, relating to, there's a number of factors, the fake electors scheme, perhaps the trying to switch the attorney general out, the pressure on the former vice president. There's a number of different things that kind of all culminate together to perhaps form their case.
Jim, what's it like to get a target letter? I mean, it's something that
I've never had one.
But have you represented anyone? When you are working with somebody who gets a target letter, what's that like? Donald Trump has obviously now had this experience fairly recently, but it's a pretty serious moment, and it causes, from both a legal and in this case a political standpoint, I imagine a certain degree of circling the wagons.
Look, it shows that there is a degree of legal jeopardy coming in the direction of the former president. And that's always serious for anybody who receives a target letter. So I do think, it's something that needs to be taken seriously. Perhaps an indictment is on its way. We saw in the last case that preceded an indictment. I think we're likely to see the same thing here. He's probably not going to go in and testify. And then it's, then we're back to, okay, this case perhaps going to be heard in the D.C. district. And who's the judge that gets assigned, and we're kind of off to all the questions that we had on the first round.
Can I quickly ask you, you worked for Donald Trump, and he has this tactic that he uses of attacking whoever goes against him. Now he's attacking Jack Smith. He said he looked like a crackhead initially. Now he's saying that he's deranged. Why does he do this? And is it problematic? Is it a problematic tactic? It's not going to help him in court.
Well, I think the judge is likely to intervene as it relates to that. I think you're going to hear some of that probably at the hearing today, I would imagine, because there's a difference, right, between the political speech associated with these cases and the political strategy associated with these cases and the legal strategy. That tactic certainly doesn't help the legal strategy.
Jim, do you think if charges do come related to trying to overturn the election, trying to stop the peaceful transfer of power, if criminal charges come to Donald Trump on that, do you think it diminishes the classified documents case that he's already up against?
No, I think they're two separate issues, right? And they are separate and distinct issues. That case is going to stand on its own. And if there's a case that's brought in connection with January 6th, that case is going to have to stand on its own. And, the case against him, in the documents case is incredibly compelling if all that evidence, if all those allegations make it into evidence.
Can I ask you what you think Donald Trump will do here with his lawyers, what his defenses may be in this particular case?
Look, on the documents case or the potential case coming down the road?
We've seen the documents case. He wants it delayed. He says that that it was, prosecutorial misconduct, and he's laid that out. But in the potential that there is another case, a January 6th case brought, which prosecutors have gotten about 550 or so plea agreements, and they've not lost a case yet. What do you think his defense is going to be if this case is brought forward?
I think there's a difference between those plea agreements in relation to the violence at the Capitol and likely what they're going to bring against Donald Trump, right? So we don't know what the charges are going to be. We can only speculate as to what the charges are going to be. Therefore, it's kind of premature to start talking about what the defenses might be. But I think it's going to be distinct from that idea of incitement. I do not believe that this will be a case that involves incitement because of the First Amendment speech issues.
So you're talking about it's not going to be things like seditious conspiracy that's already been charged and adjudicated. But there's a potential, we were hearing from Ellie Honig, obstruction of official proceeding. I've seen that in court myself over and over and over again. The Justice Department has won those cases. And that's a potential of 20 years in prison. That's at the height of it. It's not always given. But these are really serious charges, even though they don't sound as serious.
Oh, they can be, for sure. Listen, Jim, before this stunning news that Donald Trump has received a target letter in the January 6th case came down, we were looking forward to this hearing this afternoon. Judge Eileen Cannon, for the first time, is hearing directly from the attorneys on both sides of this case, and she's told them, this is the Mar-a-Lago documents case, and she's told both sides to come in with arguments about whether or not the trial should be delayed and when the trial should begin. What do you expect to happen today? How do you think she is considering this? And do you see any hints one way or the other of how she might rule?
So I think she's going to be under considerable pressure, given some of the criticism she's had in the past, to move this case along in an expeditious fashion. Of course, the Trump side is going to say, look, we need more time. This is going to interfere with the election. There's a lot of issues associated with this. But the bottom line is, absent some appellate issue kind of coming in the middle of this, 3 to 4 months is probably a reasonable amount of time to get ready for that case. And I do think, though, that, I've talked about in the past, the Classified Information Procedures Act. You've already seen the Trump team saying, look, we want to see all these documents. All these documents need to be made public. If the government opposes that and the judge rules in favor of Trump, the government has an ability to appeal. And that would be an appeal directly to the 11th Circuit, and that could potentially delay the case for a couple of months, even in an expedited manner, even if it's an expedited appeal. Same thing if they rule against the Trump team on it. They would have an ability to appeal to the 11th Circuit. And if that happens, again, you're talking about a couple of months. So even if she sets this for December, if there are appellate issues that are able to be immediately appealed to the 11th Circuit, that's going to cause some delay. Then she's going to have a decision, okay, now we're looking at February, March, April for a potential trial date. Now it's in the middle of primary season. What happens then?